And the same for Viktor Grabinikov, the man who studied the bugs that were too big to fly, and then he learned how to use the bug's wings to build a levitation platform. He wrote a whole book about this. He built this levitation platform. Unless people know this technology, they think he's a crank. He's just talking rubbish. Well, I believe he's actually telling us exactly what's going on here. It looks like he had a motorbike handle on that device and just cranked up the frequency. And at some frequency, that sound through the bug's wings would have created that toroidal field around his little levitation device. He said that he moved faster than the speed of sound on that levitation platform. And because you've got this balanced toroidal field around you that he somehow managed to create, it wasn't dangerous. Then he started studying the bug's wings, and look at the image on the left here. Pay attention, very close attention to that structure there. And then we get back to the Taurus stones that emit powerful sound and frequencies. We've measured sound energies coming out of the Taurus stones, very, very powerful frequencies. Some of them give us up to 3,400 decibels of sound. That's very, very powerful stuff. Very high frequencies. You can't hear it, but it affects your body. Also, what I've been noticing is that these Taurus stones can act as intentional tools. If you put your intention into it, it amplifies your thoughts, amplifies your intentions, these Taurus stones. So they could be very good or very dangerous. And basically, like we said, it's scalar technology, scalar vortex, Taurus effect. As it goes in, it goes into that infinite vacuum, the density of the vacuum, and then creates a bigger torus around it. And this happens simultaneously because of that infinite density of that vacuum, that 0 point. We put one of these Taurus stones in a bucket of water. The next morning there were thousands of bubbles going around, spiraling into the center of the Taurus stone, Taurus and cone combination. This is built into our own human anatomy. We have this in our eyes. We have rods and cones in our retina. So at the back of our eyes we have like this laser dish that's catching all the light and the frequencies coming through our eyes from the front, and the cones are facing backwards in the retina and shooting, turning the sound and the frequencies of the light, turning it into laser beams, shooting it through the optic nerve into the pineal gland. Isn't that remarkable? That our retinas are like satellite dishes, amplifying the light and the sound frequencies and sending it to our pineal gland. Oh my goodness. And what's at the front of our eyes? At the front of our eyes we have not cones but toruses. We have beautiful toruses at both our eyes. Our irises are little tiny toruses with a lens in the middle that focuses the light and the sound coming through that with the light. This is just spectacular. This torus cone combination is all over in our own anatomy, and this is why we should be able to do this, all of us, and so much more. In 2017 November, the Saab Award, which is a big deal military award, Saab Science Award, was won by this guy called Henrik Holter for developing a new antenna. It's called the phase ray antenna. It's a plate with a bunch of cones on it. Here's a close-up of it. It is the most powerful antenna ever built, thousands and thousands of times stronger than any antenna before, and it can both send and receive cones on a metal plate. Pay attention to that structure. Can you see the similarity between the bug's wings and that antenna? And the plot thickens. Everything that we do in science, technology, in development, it's all just mimicking nature, biomimicry. And this is why when we start looking at free energy, we should look at sound and magnetism. Unfortunately, Isaac Newton knew nothing about magnetism. This was a shock to the system when I discovered this. And this is why we have so much problems. But there's a lot more to discuss because Newton was a smart guy. I actually believe he was put up to writing that crap that we all teach our kids at school today. The whole Newtonian physics thing, just to distract us from what's really going on. And this is why gravity is completely nonsensical. We observe it, we can't explain it, we don't really understand it, and yet the whole effect of gravity is perfectly equally described by Coulomb. In Coulomb's law, it works exactly the same, except it's described as an electric phenomenon. And if it's an electric phenomenon, it means it must be an electromagnetic phenomenon, which means it's a magnetic phenomenon, which means it's a sound phenomenon. So, it's much easier to describe gravity as a magnetic effect. And suddenly everything becomes very, very clear, and we can explain everything about our reality. Sound creates magnetic fields, moving magnetic fields create electricity, and we live in a magneto-electric universe.